Thank you, gentlemen. This is rumor control. Here are the facts.
There we go. Welcome to the short version of the Rational Mail. This is the Tuesday/Wednesday show. We'll see how things go. Welcome. I am going to be talking about some things today that I'm going to do a breakdown video, of course, as you might guess. I wanted to explain today's title here. Truthful anger was something that is I don't want to say it's a moniker, but it's something that I've been sort of attached to for a long time, really since I'd say probably 2013 or 2014. There was a time in the foggy days of the mid 20-teens, I guess, where a lot of the instructors from an organization called RSD, Real Social Dynamics, started getting a lot of questions about this strange new book called The Rational Mail. And they would be at their sessions or their hot seats or whatever it was called, and they would get questions from the audience or from their I guess the people who were paying to go see these quote unquote instructors, what they thought about some principle or something that I'd written about in my book, The Rational Mail. And at one point, it took a little bit of time, but at one point, Owen and some of the other guys, I want to say Jeffy, I can't even remember the names now because it was so long ago. RSD has sort of gone the way of the dinosaur and has changed into sort of this positivity / success porn grift. And but back then it wasn't. And at some point they were forced to kind of address this. And one of the things that was addressed was say, I think it was Owen or somebody, forget who it was in the instructors, but they were saying that the Rational Mail is truthful. That's all truth. Everything in there is great. And that was all the stuff that I've read the Rational Mail and it's very profound and whatever, I try to be as complimentary and as positive as possible. Right. But beware of the red pill, because the red pill can make you angry. And it can ruin your game, and it can ruin your upbeat emotional response that the entire real seminar was based on, is keeping you amped up, keeping you in that state of excitation, I guess, keeping you in a state of an emotional high. And a cold bucket of truth like the Rational Mail is something to give you pause to think about. So, the Rational Mail is true, but it's truthful anger. And beware of turning into one of these bitter red pill guys, these angry red pill guys. That's why I titled today's video Truthful Anger, but also the angry red pill guy and the wonderful woman. And I'll explain to you exactly what that is here in just a moment. This is a sort of a conundrum, I guess, that I've had to deal with for a long time. When you present truth to people, when you present, and by truth as I mean as objectively as possible, as objective a truth as we are able to manage. Now, I understand, before we get over our heads here, I 100% understand that there is no such thing as an unbiased truth. I understand that there's always going to be your interpretation of it, and we're going to talk about that today too, because this is actually a very interesting video that I'm going to do a little breakdown of. And I understand that being entirely objective is actually a human impossibility, because there's always going to be the possibility of new data that comes in and sort of like ruins what we thought was true. And we're actually experiencing that right now, I think, since the year 2000. And I mean that in the sense that, now we have access to data. We live in an information age, but we also live in an age of emotion, and we live in an age of really a conflict, I think, between that emotional prioritization of how we should live and follow your heart kind of thing versus the hard empirical data that we have at the touch of a mouse right now. And I think that a lot of guys, particularly guys who are stuck in that old order, and not just guys in general, I mean women as well, like this is a Western society, let's just say, are very stuck in this idea that they have to cling to these old order emotionalist belief sets, woo-woo magical thinking, metaphorical truths, right? In order to sort of live their lives and certainly to continue whatever form of business that they've managed to monetize according to those kind of emotional feel-good beliefs, or maybe even feel-bad beliefs. It just kind of depends on which way that guy goes. And that's where I'm going to get into today. I apologize if this seems a little bit heady, but let's we're gonna dig into a few things here. So I wanted to preface today's title and today's topic with the idea of truthful anger, because there's this idea that the way you can sort of tamp down objective truths that are uncomfortable and are unflattering and in some ways force you to be responsible for those truths, the way to kind of tamp those down or to sort of buffer those is to say, well, don't get angry. It's true, but don't get angry. It's Rollo is all the stuff he says is true, but if you dwell on it too much, then perhaps you're going to become this bitter, horrible person. That's of course never been my intent, and my intent has always been to educate. I'm not a PUA. I'm not a dating coach. I'm not a relationship expert. I'm a guy with a lot of questions, and sometimes those questions lead to uncomfortable truths and unflattering revelations about human nature. And that's kind of tough on people, especially on guys who make a living off of selling you something that is a little bit more hopeful and a little more optimistic than what the truth might or might not actually imply. So better to stick your head back in the sand and go back to sleep than to actually think about it too long and be unhappy. And that's my last little point here I wanted to make is that, and I'm quoting Ryan Stone. Thank you, Ryan, for this. But would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? And that question alone, just asking that, if you can only be one or the other, because often enough, knowing the truth about something implies that there is a liability that goes along with that truth, the responsibilities that go along with truth. As I've said, if you've ever read, I think it's in my first book, I believe it was in I had a post called The Bitter Taste of the Red Pill. I've been addressing these topics since actually even before RSD started coming up with the truthful anger line. But I said this is that the truth will set you free, but it does not absolve you of the responsibility or the liability or the unflattering unhappiness that often comes with that truth. So when we talk about like guys who get angry, when we talk about guys who are upset with women in general or something, I think one of the biggest misnomers or mistakes that sort of normies make or mainstream society makes is that the red pill is inherently angry. And even the guys who are in it will agree with that. Even well-meaning red pill guys will agree with that. And so let me just clear things up right here. Would you rather be happy or would you rather be a red pill, right? Would you rather take off the red pill lens? Would you rather be plugged back into the matrix? Would you like to be Cypher and be plugged back in? Because once you're unplugged, you don't unsee what you've seen. You've got your red pill lens. The red pill lens doesn't come off. If anything, it becomes a little bit more clear. The clarity becomes better. So keep that in mind as I sort of progress through this today. I am not, again, I'm going to give you standard caveats here. This is not an attack on this guy. I believe his name is David. He is the, I guess, guru or the positivity dude from Self-Developed, I believe is what it is. I'm until last week, I had no clue, earthly idea who this guy was. So again, this is not a hit on him. This is a sort of a breakdown of the argument of truthful anger. And this was a really good example of this because it continues today. It has been going on as long as I have been writing. People have been saying the same thing. They've been worried that I'm going to create a generation of arrogant, self-centered assholes, more or less. And that's never been my intent. And I would also like to say, but right before I get started here, is that the red pill does not exist so that you will hate women. It exists so you will not hate women for what they can never be for you. That is the truth of the red pill. It's not about, and red pill awareness. Really, I mean, when we talk about red pill, I've said this before, is that red pill is a praxeology. It is the Chilton manual for intersexual dynamics. It's the textbook. And what you do with that information, what you do with it, whether you choose to get angry with it or you choose to, again, it's discontent, right? You can choose to be creatively discontent or you can choose to be destructively discontent. So if that information and that objective truth leads you to anger, maybe it's time to back up off of it and then say, you know what, maybe I just need to reassess my entire paradigm here and see the opportunities and the advantages that I have of being red pill aware. That's where this goes. So I'm going to show this. I'm going to put this up here right quick, and let's see if I can I get that up there? There we go. Again, this is the guy from Self-Developed. Hang on one second. Well, I can't believe I remembered to do that. Here we go. I put on echo cancellation this time.
And alright guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video on the Self-Developed YouTube channel. I'm speaking a bit quiet because it is quite late here in the condo, but nonetheless want to bang out a video for you guys. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic day. As always, comment down below where you're from, what time is it, and hashtag Self-Developed Army. Anyways guys, straight to this video. I believe I titled it, Red Pill is Bullshit, okay? Now I know this is probably going to get quite a few dislikes and comments and controversy. That is fine. There's no issue with that. I encourage that. Let's start a discussion and let's jump right in. So first and foremost guys, what is the red pill? I'm pretty sure 99% of you are familiar. We have the matrix, right? The red pill and the blue pill. The red pill associated with truth and the blue pill associated with lies, deceit, right? Furthering down into this matrix, right? So Neo, of course, chooses the red pill to find.
All right. So this is where we have one of the inherent difficulties in describing what red pill and blue pill is. I really wish there was a better analogy for what all of this is, or manosphere. I really hate those terms now. I used to think they were brilliant, right? I mean, in every one of my books, I say, why do my eyes hurt? Well, that's because you've never used them before. That's straight out of the Matrix, by the way. And I still think it's apt. I still think that as a metaphor, it's apt, but it gets distorted and bastardized and corrupted by guys who want to tell you about the self-developed army, right? Or whatever it is that they're throwing at us today. So I want to throw this out there because a lot of people, when they bastardize the term red pill, and a lot of people have over the years, red pill is not about truth and lies. Okay. No, it is about living in a matrix. It's about living it's far beyond. I wish it was just as that easy, right? Black and white, easy, good versus evil, right? Right versus wrong. Nobody really has a problem with right versus wrong. I know that sounds really strange, right? But how could Rollo say it? No, right versus wrong. Most people can see that. Whether they choose that or not is up to them, right? And I'm not making judgment calls here again, but I want to point out that the idea of choosing right versus wrong or truth versus lies or whatever, that's usually a pretty easy decision to make. It's right versus right, or wrong versus wrong, or right versus a little bit less right, or wrong versus really, really wrong. But you're forced into those situations. That's where people kind of lose the narrative. And when we talk about the red pill from a perspective of intersexual dynamics, guys, when they get to this point where they are unplugging, it's not about right versus wrong. It's not about red versus blue. It's about the fact that up until this point in their lives, and whatever time that is, for some it might be earlier, for some it might be later in life, right? For a guy who's like 20 years old, he's got an advantage that the guy who's 50 or 60 years old does not have. And you want to know where the anger comes from? It comes from the knowing that you have been living and building a life according to bad information, according to what the Matrix, right, has been teaching you. So it's not just truth versus lies. It's the fact that who you are as a person is the result, is the product of having lived according to the Matrix, according to the blue pill, according to what you have been taught up to this point, until you have had an epiphany or you've had some sort of point of crisis or some point of trauma. He's going to talk about that here in a second. So I'll give him some credit about that. But I wanted to make this clear because I wish it was as binary and easy as that. It's not. It's not right versus wrong. It's right versus right, or it's wrong versus wronger, or it's I am the product of a wrong way of thinking, and now I'm seeing the inherent flaws in that thinking. Oh my God, I've wasted my one and only life. Fear of missing out, right? Only you've already missed out. You only let, like YOLO, you only live once. Oh my God, I only live once, and now I'm 50 years old, and I've been living up to this point based the things I have in my life, the problems I have, or maybe even the advantages I have, are all a result of having believed this blue pill matrix.
Find out the truth, right, of what this simulation is. If you've seen the movie, you know. Now, in our manosphere, right, the community that you and I are in, red pill is associated with this truth, and it's targeted towards female nature. And this is amazing. I think this is fantastic. You know, there's so many blessings and epiphanies that men like myself and you guys have had from this community, right? So first and foremost, I agree with a lot of the information and the knowledge that is being spread and essentially dispersed through the.
Okay, there's the truthful part of truthful anger. It's true. Parts of this are true. Some of this is really, really good. Now comes the anger.
Community, the red pill, right? But guys, my issue with it, and really why I want to protect you guys and even the men who are making this content, is at some point, truth is no longer truth. And what I mean by this is in the way it is disseminated. Now, you guys know that there is something in our brain called the RAS, or our.
Okay, we're going to talk about RAS here, and he's going to talk about this reticular activating system, and I will get into this. I have to stop it right here for just a quick second because I'm sorry, that was a really bad stop right there, wasn't it? We're looking at what is standard fare for most of woke society right now. Most of a feminine. The guy definitely suffers from and again, this is not a cut on him, but this is feminine primary thinking, right? It's my truth versus the truth. It's my belief set versus objective truth. The sky is blue, but I believe that it's actually green. That's my truth. I'm living my truth. It's all about inside, right? It's all about healing. It's all about love. And so the truth is not always a truth. Well, no, there is the truth, and then there is just however you interpret that truth, or however you choose to deal with that. Sometimes, as I said, the truth will make you discontent, and so therefore you've got to find some way to sort of reconcile that, and then live accordingly. Or else you can go into denial and cling to all of your old school, old order belief sets that are now being challenged by the truth, objective truth. There's not just, oh, here, this is what I believe, and so therefore it is true. It is there as an objective, concrete truth. But when you hear guys like this, I've seen, there's a Nike advertisement. I think it's like some really overweight girl who's like, I'm living my truth, Nike swoosh. Living my truth. Oprah Winfrey said that in the Meghan Markle, Prince Markle interview not too long ago. Well, I guess this is your truth. You're living your truth. Even Dr. Phil, you'll hear the same thing. It's like, no, dude, there is the truth, and that is it. How you choose to interpret that is kind of up to you. Okay, so now what he's going to talk about here is the RAS, which is the reticular activating system. I'm very familiar with this, actually, oddly enough. I'm not a neurologist. I am not a brain physicist or physician. And I am fairly confident saying this guy isn't either. What he is regurgitating here is straight out of the law of attraction. And this is the secret. Woo, magical thinking, right? If you've got this thing called but that's one thing that there is actually such a thing as the reticular activating system. There's also I believe what is it called? It is the reticular formation. That's what it is. There's also your brain, like reticular formation and reticular activating system. This is one of those sort of hip things to kind of latch onto to lend a bit of some kind of science to what is otherwise this kind of like woo-woo magical thinking when it comes to the law of attraction and it comes to the secret. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but astrology, chick crack, you name it, right? What is it? Enneagrams, Christian guys who will basically Christian astrology. It's along the same lines. So, but there is such a thing as the RAS, okay, the reticular activating system. It's actually part of your brain. It's part of your brain stem. I'll detail that here in a second. I want him to finish.
Reticular activating system. Okay, this is what formulates our confirmation bias and our essentially way we perceive the world. Now, my issue with okay,
first off, that's straight out of the secret. Okay, this is what the reticular activating system does. In no way has it been proven that it is the source of your confirmation bias. Okay. In fact, let me throw this out here real quick. The reticular activating system actually, you know what? Instead of reading this, it's a lot of. I'll give you the link here. It's an article from neuroscientificallychallenged.com, which is kind of funny. So I'm just going to read a few of these things. So it's actually part of your brainstem. So let me throw this out. What is the main function of the RAS? Definition is this: is reticular activating system denotes the part of the brain stem reticular formation which performs a crucial role in maintaining behavioral arousal, consciousness, and motivation. Okay, so it's what basically gets you off your ass, and it is a key element of the brain, particularly when it comes to arousal, also sexual arousal, but also consciousness, and not consciousness in, I'm a conscientious being in the astral plane. It is consciousness, meaning like you're awake, okay? You're asleep, you're unconscious. You're awake, you're conscious. That is part of the regulation also of your circadian rhythms, is part of the RAS. So motivation, there's, again, it's not 100% what we know everything about this, but it's something that, it seems kind of sciencey enough to add to something like the law of attraction. How do you use the activating system? Some people suggest that you can train your RAS by taking your subconscious thoughts and marrying them to your conscious thoughts. Sounds a lot like positivity training, doesn't it? Sounds kind of like the power of positive thinking. Sounds kind of like the law of attraction. They call it setting your intent. This basically means that if you focus on your goals, your RAS will reveal the people, information, and opportunities that help you achieve them. Okay, straight out of the success porn handbook. Let's also see what else we got here. This is a good one. The reticular activating system is what happens if it's damaged, right? The reticular activating system is part of the brain that maintains the sleep-wake-wakefulness cycle. Any damage to this region can cause hypersomnolence and drowsiness, meaning like you're very sleepy, right? Along with altered sensorium. There's also a link to, I believe it's serotonin that's in that part of the brainstem as well. So I would encourage anybody, if you're interested, that's fascinating. Thank you, actually, Dave, for having me go and sort of look this stuff up so I knew what I was talking about. But again, RAS, reticular activating system, in the sense of a psychological phenomenon, in the sense of what it actually entails. There's a lot known about it. However, is it something that is used for confirmation bias? Well, it would have to go through. If you developed a confirmation bias, one would presume that it has to at least go through the reticular activating system. So. But again, that's like you send out enough positive juju into the universe and suddenly it will give you back what it is you've been praying for or what you've been asking for.
Red pill is what you need to understand, as I've said on this channel many times, is all truths are true, right? So yes, there's a lot of truth about the female nature.
Okay, so all truths are true. Do you honestly think that all truths are true? My truth is different from your truth. So my truth is true and your truth is true. And it doesn't matter. Anything goes. The reason I wanted to stop it right here is because this is a primary aspect of the blank slate. This is blank slate equalism 101 right here.
Which is great. But my issue now, and my warning to you guys, you're shooting yourself in the foot, is you are now creating a perception and reality in which all women are evil, they're horrible, they're bad, which will do you no good as a man. Believe me, I've actually been quote-unquote red pill, I guess years ago without knowing it, like 17 years old, and it gets you nowhere. It's not beneficial at all. I guarantee you that 98% of these red-pilled YouTubers who so-called seemingly despise women, either A, do very poorly with women, or B, they are not living up to everything they say because they are like, there's a lot of lies. I'm just going to say that. Okay, guys.
Okay. So I understand what he's saying. I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack here too. Okay. First off, objective truth is objective truth. Whether you enjoy it or not, that's kind of up to you. Whether you use that to your own benefit or you choose to burn your house down with it, that's up to you too. So are some people prepared for objective truth? Are some people prepared for the true nature of women? Are some people prepared to understand or really wrap their heads around a life or a personality or whatever they've done up to this point in their lives, in their sort of blue pill stupor, and suddenly all of these things sort of make sense? Everyone who has ever read, certainly my first book and probably most of my other books as well, has said, I always knew this stuff was true, just like he's saying right now. I was 17. I was already red pill. No, you probably weren't, and you probably still aren't right now. But the fact is that a lot of guys will say, well, I read this stuff, and Rolly, you have a way of articulating these truths that I always kind of thought in the back of my head were true, or that I always kind of was wondering about, but then you put them into words, and that's really why the Rational Male is sort of like the Bible of the red pill right now, or the Bible of the manosphere. I didn't set out to do that. I was just simply, laying out what I was seeing at the time, and still am right now, and still updating things, as of today. Whether you choose to be angry about that, whether you choose to beat yourself up over those things, over those truths, whether you can handle them or not is not the purview of the red pill. So to say, well, all those red pill guys, 98% of those red pill guys are just angry, bitter, horrible people. Well, yeah, they are when it suits your business plan that they should be. Again, this is just RSD, truthful anger 2.0 instead of 1.0. So don't become bitter and he just, prefaces everything, or, puts a little asterisk by it saying, well, I think a lot of this stuff is true. Well, what is it, man? Is it true or is it not true? Is it all truths are true? Well, if that's the case, then it should make you angry, right? My truth is my truth and your truth is your truth, right? We're all kind of sit around the drum circle and sing Kumbaya. No, it's not. And again, what we're looking at here is what I've also added here is this is the wonderful woman effect as well. And I'm going to read that to you really fast here. This is the wonderful woman effect. This is not something that I kind of pulled out of my ass. This is like a real thing. Okay. The wonderful women are wonderful effect. This is straight off of the Wikipedia site. You can go look this up on like Psychology Today or even it's a widely known phenomenon. Okay. The women are wonderful effect is the phenomenon found in psychological and sociological research, which suggests that people associate more positive attributes with women compared to men. This bias, I wonder if that goes to the RAS, reflects an emotional bias towards women as a general case. The phrase was coined by Alice Eagley and Antonio Muldanik. I'm sorry, he's got a strange name. In 1994, after finding that both male and female participants tend to assign positive traits to women, with female participants showing a far more pronounced bias. Positive traits were assigned to men by participants of both genders, but to a far lesser degree. The authors suppose that the positive general evaluation of women might derive from the association between women and nurturing characteristics. Evolved characteristics, I might add too. This bias is suggested as a form of misandry or / benevolent misogyny, the latter being a concept within the theoretical framework of ambivalent sexism. And I'll stop right there. There's a whole big background, and they'll explain to, if you just go to Wikipedia and look up women are wonderful effect. And this is true here. Well, I mean, it's my truth, right? So all truths are true. So this must be true, right, dude? So through your RAS or through women's RAS, women are wonderful, right? That formed our bias. Isn't that how? Are you not then also talking about the same bias or the same effect of that bias? See, that's the thing is we're not looking for objective truth here. We're looking for whatever works within our predictive frameworks, right? With whatever works with our psychology, with whatever works with our belief sets. So this guy is definitely a believer, not an empiricist, not even close to an empiricist. So,
anyways, that's nor here or there. The reason this video is so important is because if you now, right, as a red-pilled YouTuber or just the consumers, that's really who I care about, you guys, if you believe and begin to tell yourself through your perception in RAS that all women are evil, then your reality will mirror that. All women will become evil. Essentially, half the population is now going to be despised. Now, going further into our RAS, reticular activating system, because I really want to bring this to you guys, if you believe anything to be true, your brain will literally find any and all information to back up this bias, right? This is confirmation bias. Where on the contrary, what I'm offering you to do is to, yes, maybe understand the red pill truths on female nature. This is what I choose to do, understand how the female brain works, but then choose to view them in a positive light, because the irony here, right, is if you are viewing anything in a negative light, that goes to show that there's a positive light, because you can't have one without the other, right?
Actually, you can. You can have one without the other. We were just talking about this a moment ago. Right versus wrong, black versus white, binary extreme versus binary extreme. That is the defining characteristics of this of his generation for sure, but like for this generation. When we talk about, whenever I am laying out some unflattering truth about women, I am not only accosted by women themselves, but I'm also accosted by guys who are want to be on team woman, because they see that as an advantage. They see that as a reproductive advantage. If they can go and sort of slip, again, it's the sneaky effer mating strategy. Yes, the male feminist kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying that's what he is. I'm just saying that that's the impulse, the natural impulse. We see an opportunity. If that's your mating strategy, you're looking for those opportunities all the time, because they're kind of few and far between. So you want to either manufacture those opportunities, or you want to look for them so intensely that you know you're ready to pounce on them when they happen. So that's number one. Number two is we live in an era of binary extremes. If it's not black, it's white. If it's not on, it's off. Everything, if there's something, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Nonsense. Whenever we talk about like double standards, and I'm going to actually do a show on double standards at some point. Whenever we talk about double standards, women tend to think that they own the term double standards. There's far more double standards than just guys get to have sex with a lot of girls and women don't, because if they don't, then they're viewed as loose and slut and promiscuous, and guys are superheroes the more chicks that they can lay, right? Okay, yes, I know the term about locks, shitty locks and master keys. Got it. Okay. But the reason why that is funny is because we presume exactly what he's presuming right here. If there's one action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Bullshit. There is not that you will not find that in the world. I know it goes against everything you want to hope and dream karma is all about. It is not. Men and women are different. We have different impulses. We have different we have different mating strategies. We have different priorities. We have different goals. We have different bodies. We have different brains. We have different endocrinology, right? We have different, you name it. Our differences are more pronounced than people will ever want to accept, because the moment that you accept those, you also have to figure out how to make it work. How do I make man and woman work? I've said this a million times, we're better together than we are apart. Oh, look, a red pill guy saying that, hey, don't hate women. I don't think that you should hate women. I think it's illogical to hate women. It's irrational to hate women, because you've got to find some way to live along with them, right? One way or another, whether you've got to work with them, or your mom or your sister, I don't care, or you've got a wife, or you got a girlfriend, or maybe you just simply you just want to give up and forget about everything. You're still going to be dealing with women in some way, shape, or form. And it behooves you to know their nature, not to stick your head back into the sand. And by that, I mean, know the truth. Plug yourself back into the matrix, right? Know what women's nature really is, and then simply have this, take this position of Pollyanna denialism and stick your head back in the sand. You're better off knowing, and you're better off understanding this. Now, not everyone is ready for that. That's the part that I will agree with him on. Okay. What he's referring to here is really the black pill, not the red pill. And that's why I wanted to make that distinction right here. Again, the red pill exists not so you will hate women, but so that you will not hate them for what they can never be for you. I want to let that kind of sink in a little bit there, because I don't think that guys like that, and certainly guys who are really kind of, they're making a living off of this kind of positivity grift, and they go, hey, you just don't give up, man. And a lot of guys do. And I understand why. And I understand the frustration there. But don't point the finger at the red pill. pointed at the guys who take that information and then use it in such a way that they do get despondent. They do. Absolutely. Anger is part of unplugging. It should be. And most guys are not angry at women. They don't hate women. They don't think that women are bad or evil or anything like that. They just simply hate the fact that they've lived this long, plugged into a matrix, plugged into this blue pill way of thinking, living out, and are now the products of having lived according to what they thought was supposed to be true. Yeah, I hope you are pissed off. I hope you're pissed off enough to sort of realize where you're at and what you can do with the new information that you have and understand that you can live a better, more productive, more hopeful life with red pill awareness in a red pill paradigm. So don't think that it's all downside or it's all negative here. And the reason why you get there is because you live in these binary extremes. If it's not on, then it's off. There's an equal and opposite reaction for every action. No, not in this case, not here. In physics, maybe. Gravity out in outer space, sure, maybe. But that's not what we're talking about here. Apples and oranges, man. So don't think what's good for the goose is always good for the gander. Don't always think that there's going to be some like, well, if there's negative, then there has to be positive. Okay, yeah. If we're talking about, positrons and negatrons or whatever, yeah, maybe. I just butchered that. Anybody who's like a physicist is going to throw rocks at me now.
And the irony here again, I'm exposing a lot of truths here, but the irony again is that these red-pilled men who so-called hate women actually love women more than most people, because hate and love are like this as emotions. The opposite of love is indifference. If these guys really hated and wanted nothing to do with women, then they wouldn't be talking about them. But they don't want you to know that. Anyways, so what I'm saying to you guys is, yes, understand the so-called truths, right? But
well, let me just chime in here real quick. Yeah, that could be true. It could be that I've said this is the black pill and the purple pill are basically 1 degree of difference. The purple pill is a purple pill guy, in case you're wondering where I come up with this. I don't use this as an insult. I use this as a designation. What happens is guys who are very stuck in their blue pill ideals and their blue pill beliefs and have, as I said, built a life according to what the blue pill has taught them for so long. What they do is they find the red pill and they can't deny the truths of it. They can't wrap their heads around it. And it's right there in their face, black and white, and it's confounding the beliefs that have led to them being who they are. So here's the options. The option is destroy yourself and reconstruct yourself, or put your head in the ground, right? Put your head go into denial, put your head in the sand. Those are the only 2 options at that point. You can go back and say, you know what? How I've gotten to this point has been based on a set of beliefs or a set of I've built a life on what I thought was supposed to be true. That's going to cause a lot of anger. We already talked about that. But what happens is these guys get onto the red pill awareness, and they think that they can use that red pill awareness to achieve blue pill goals. That's what makes you purple pill. And that's also what makes black pill guys, because it is the hopelessness that those, like for purple pill guys, here's the difference. The guys who go, they cross over the abyss, right? They go, okay, well, this is red pill, and I get it. And they say, well, I accept this part. It's like pick and pull red pill. I accept this part of it, and I accept that there's hypergamy, and I accept the soulmate myth, and well, maybe not the soulmate myth, because I got a really good girl back in my blue pill past that I really want to get with, and I really think I can have the white picket fence and the golden retriever in the front yard and 2.5 kids, but I'm going to use the red pill to get it. Now, the fact is that the blue pill ideals and the goals and the idealism that